I sold my boat on a Tuesday morning and did not tell anyone for 3 weeks. Not my son, not my neighbor, not the fellows at the marina who used to wave when I pulled in. I just signed the papers, drove home, and made a cup of coffee like it was any other day. My name is Thea Bramwell. I am 79 years old, and I spent most of my life running a hardware store outside Dayton, Ohio. The boat was a 26-foot cruiser, white with navy trim, and I had wanted one since I was a boy, standing on a dock somewhere watching other men's boats go by. I finally bought it at 62, 3 years after I sold the store. It cost me $31,000, and I remember thinking at the time that it was the proudest purchase of my life. For the first summer, I loved it the way you love anything new. I took it out most weekends. I learned the names of the buoys. I waved back at the other men on their boats, and for a while, I believed we were all part of something. Then, slowly, without me noticing exactly when, the boat stopped being mine and started being a job. There was the engine that needed servicing every spring, $1,100, sometimes more. There was the slip fee, paid whether I used the boat once a month or not at all. There was the top that tore in a windstorm, the battery that died twice, the man named Curtis who I had to pay to keep the hull scraped clean. I was spending more hours worrying about the boat than I ever spent on the water in it. One October afternoon, I sat in the driver's seat at the marina, engine off, just looking at the water, and I made myself answer something honestly for once. Was this actually mine to want? Or was it the 9-year-old on that old dock still calling the shots? And the honest answer was no. I did not want the boat anymore. I wanted my Tuesdays back. I think that is where all of this starts to make sense to a person. Somewhere past 70, you begin noticing how much of what you own was never really chosen by you at all. It was chosen by some younger version of yourself who was still trying to prove something to somebody. In my 40s, I was convinced the neighborhood kept a running tally on me. Somebody clocking the make of my truck, the size of my porch, whatever watch happened to be on my wrist that year. Doing well in life, to me back then, meant framing the evidence and hanging it somewhere visible. I spent probably 20 years, on and off, building a life that looked impressive from the sidewalk. My husband Arthur used to tease me about it. He would say, "Thea, nobody is standing outside our house taking notes." She was righter than I wanted to admit. There was a fellow I used to know from the Rotary Club, Gordon Pratt, who spent his whole career trying to look like a man who had made it. New truck every 3 years. A watch he mentioned in almost every conversation, unprompted. He built a house with a great room so tall you needed a special ladder just to change the light bulbs. People admired Gordon, at least from a distance. I admired him myself for a while, but I ran into him at a diner 2 years ago, and over eggs he told me, quiet, like it embarrassed him, that he was still working part-time at 74 because the truck payments never really stopped. They just changed shape. He looked tired in a way that had nothing to do with his age. Compare that to my brother-in-law, Ray. Ray drives a truck so old the radio only picks up one station. His house is small, 2 bedrooms, a kitchen that has not been updated since Reagan was president. But every single Thursday, rain or shine, Ray is out on his porch by 7 in the morning with a cup of coffee and absolutely know where he has to be. He fishes when he wants. He drives up to see his grandkids in Columbus whenever the mood strikes him. Nobody envies Ray's house, but I have come to think Ray is the wealthiest man I know. I used to think luxury meant something you could point to. The boat, the watch, a car people turn their heads for. But I have buried enough friends now, watched enough of them go sooner than any of us expected, that I have had to rewrite what that word means to me. A morning where my stomach is not already tight before I have gotten out of bed, that is what I would call real wealth now. A whole afternoon with nothing scheduled on it, turning somebody down flat and not spending the evening chewing on it afterward, that one might top the list. There is a particular kind of freedom that shows up once you stop needing strangers to confirm you are doing all right. I did not understand that until the boat. I will tell you exactly what happened. The last real trip I took on it, I pulled into the marina, and a man I had never met walked over, unprompted, and started asking me questions about the engine, the resale value, whether I would take an offer right there on the dock. I had not asked for the conversation. I had not asked for his opinion on what my boat was worth, or what it said about me. I just wanted to tie up and go home. That was the day I understood, really understood, that the things you buy to be noticed do not just bring attention, they bring everybody else's opinions along with them, whether you want them or not. I listed the boat that week. I sold it in 9 days to a young man from Kettering with 2 little girls who could not stop grinning. I hope it brings his family what it stopped bringing mine. Arthur asked me, after I told him, why I had not said anything sooner. I told him the truth. I did not want to admit I had spent $31,000 in 4 years chasing something I did not actually want. When you are young, you trade your time for money without thinking twice about it, because there is always more time coming, or so it feels. Nobody tells you that arrangement flips on you eventually. By 79, time is the only currency I actually worry about running short on. Money I can still make a little more of, one way or another. Tuesdays I cannot. I had a customer at the hardware store years back, a man named Ed Kowalski, who built himself the kind of house you would stop your car to look at. 4 bedrooms, a stone fireplace, 2 stories tall, a yard big enough to lose a dog in. I helped him pick out the hardware for every cabinet in that kitchen myself, and I ran into his daughter at a funeral a while back, and she told me something that has stuck with me since. She said her father spent almost every weekend of his life maintaining that house instead of living in it. Gutters, the pool filter, the roof, the driveway that kept cracking in the cold. He had, by any outside measure, an enormous life. From the inside, she said, he barely had a Saturday to himself in 30 years. I think about that a lot, next to Ray on his porch with his 1-station radio. There is a particular kind of invisibility that comes with getting older, and for a long time I resented it. You retire, and the phone stops ringing the way it used to. Younger folks run the meetings now. The world's attention, such as it is, moves toward people with more years ahead of them than behind. I used to find that lonely. Now I find it something closer to freedom. When nobody expects anything from you anymore, you get to stop performing for them. I can wear the same flannel shirt 3 days running and nobody is going to say a word about it. I can drive my truck until the wheels fall off and nobody is going to ask why I have not upgraded. There is a version of this that could sound sad if you frame it wrong, but I do not experience it that way at all. I experience it as the first real quiet I have had since I was a kid. I have made plenty of mistakes chasing the wrong things, and I am not going to sit here and pretend I had this figured out at 50. I did not. I wanted people to see the boat. I wanted the fellows at Rotary to notice the watch. Age is the only thing that ever really cured me of it, and it took its time doing that. I sold the watch too, if you are curious. It was a good one, a Longines my father-in-law left me, and I had worn it to every wedding, every funeral, every occasion where I thought people might be looking at my wrist. I did not sell it because I stopped liking it. I sold it because I caught myself one afternoon checking whether the man across the table at a diner had noticed it, and I did not much care for who I had become in that moment. I gave the money to my granddaughter for her first semester of nursing school instead. She does not know it came from a watch. I like it better that way. I sit in a cafe most Wednesday mornings now, the one on 3rd Street with the crooked awning, and I watch people go by. Nice cars stop at the light. Well-dressed folks walk past the window. And here is the thing I have noticed, the thing that would have shocked me at 40. Nobody is really looking. People glance for half a second and go right back to their coffee, their phone, their own conversation. I used to think I was on a stage. Turns out the audience went home a long time ago, if they were ever really there. These days I run a little test on myself. Strip away every witness. No neighbor watching from their yard. No fellow at the marina keeping score. Nobody at all. Would I still have bought the thing? Would it still sit right with me? That test gets uncomfortable in a hurry because it exposes how much of what you spend a lifetime chasing was somebody else's idea to begin with, just wearing your name. Some of it belonged to a younger man who was still trying to earn somebody's approval. And that man, frankly, has been gone a long while now. Your health matters. The people you love matter. Your time matters, more than you understood when you had more of it to spare. Almost everything else is negotiable, and I mean that as a genuine relief, not a warning. There is a strange thing that happens once you stop trying to look important. People, oddly enough, start finding you more interesting, not less. I have noticed it at the diner at church, standing around after a funeral. The men who spend the whole conversation talking about their truck or their portfolio tend to clear a room a little faster than they realize. The ones who have made their peace with a smaller, quieter life, the Rays of the world, people tend to linger near them. I do not think that is an accident. I think about Ray on his porch a lot these days. Nobody is writing articles about Ray. Nobody is impressed by his truck radio that only gets one station. But Ray owns every single one of his Thursdays, start to finish, and I do not know a wealthier man than that. If you are sitting somewhere past 60, past 70, and you are still carrying things you bought to prove something to people who stopped watching years ago, or maybe never were watching at all, I would gently ask you the same question I finally asked myself in that marina parking lot. What would you actually keep if nobody but you would ever know you kept it? Set the rest down. It is lighter than you think. I do not say any of this because I think there is something noble about having less. That is not it at all. Ray is not a saint for driving an old truck, and Gordon was not a villain for wanting a nice one. I say it because I spent the better part of 5 decades believing the size of a thing I owned had something to do with the size of the life I was living, and I was wrong about that in a way that cost me real years. Not money, years. Weekends I could have spent on a porch instead of scraping a hull. Afternoons I gave to a slip fee instead of to Arthur. If there is one thing I would want a younger version of myself to hear, it is this. Nobody is keeping score the way you think they are. The people you are trying to impress are, almost without exception, home worrying about their own bills, their own health, their own children, and they have been the whole time. The stage you think you are performing on emptied out years ago, if it was ever full to begin with. You are free to walk off it whenever you are ready. I would love to know, if you do not mind sharing down in the comments, whether there is something in your own life you have been holding on to for the wrong reasons. Might be a boat, might be a watch, might just be an idea about yourself you never got around to setting down. I read every one, and Arthur reads the ones that mention the boat and laughs at me all over again. Thank you for spending part of your morning with me. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.